graph y equals 2x squared. Compare the graph with the graph of y equals x squared. So y equals x squared is our parent, and here's the graph of the parent. Notice that our scale on our graph is going by 2's in the x direction and in the y. Each line represents 2. So if we just want to, there's two ways to go about this. One way is just knowing what does 2 times x squared, how does that impact your parent function? Well, we've learned before that if you multiply times the parent, it's going to stretch the graph. So let's represent this using a table. So the parent function goes through -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We'll use these numbers for x. And then at -2, the graph is at 4. At -1, we're at 2. At 0, we're at 0. 1, we're at 2. And then at 2, we're at 4. So this table right here represents our parent function. So if we multiply times our parent function, all we have to do is take the y values from our table and multiply them by this number, which this 2 represents the a in our standard form equation, a times x squared. So I'm going to take 2 times 4, that gives me 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 0 times 2 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. And 4 times 2 is 8. So now I've got a new table that I'm going to plot to get my new graph. And I'm going to graph these x values with these y values to get y equals 2x squared. So let's do that. I have -2 would be right here, and I'm up here at 8, so 2, 4, 6, 8. At -1, I'm at 4. At 0, I'm still at 0. At 1, I'm at 4. And then at 2, I'm up here at 8. So here's my new graph. And you can tell if you compare the purple to the black, the purple one is skinnier, and that just represents the graph being stretched. So if you just grab these 2 arrows on the black one, you pull them straight up, it'll make the graph skinnier. So that is a stretch. Now if you don't want to graph the parent and then perform the stretch or multiply the y's, you can just make a table and directly substitute into the equation y equals 2x squared. So let's try that. If x is -2, I'm just going to plug that into this equation for x, and then I'll calculate the value. So to calculate, you're going to go -2 squared, which is -2 times -2, which is 4, and then 4 times 2 gives you 8. I can directly substitute -1 into the equation. -1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. I can substitute 0. 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0. I can substitute the 1 in for x. 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. And then I can substitute the 2 in. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then I can plot those points. Well, if you notice, they are the same exact points you would get if you took the parent and multiplied the y's by the 2. And so you'll get the same purple graph. So that's your 2 ways, just knowing what this transformation is, or make a table, directly substitute in the equation, get your new points, and plot those points.